All right, this video is going to cover the OPCD terrain services. With the last video, we've got all of our terrain brought in, our inner, our outer, and we've got a overhead view here attached to the terrain. It's called terrain texture. And what we want to do is download the rest of everything and line everything up. So to do that, we're going to do that on terrain services. So we're going to click this. There's a little drop down. You're going to click Align LiDAR Image. The first time you do it, you're going to have to download it. So we're going to download. It takes not long, a few seconds here, definitely under a minute. It says it may take a minute, but usually it's pretty quick. All right, looks like we have it downloaded. We're going to OK. Once we have it downloaded, then we can actually go into it. So we're going to go right up here, open this up. Our course, we're going to open it. First time, well, actually every time you open it, it's going to ask you about giving access. You're going to allow that. Then you're going to have to authorize. And this is back what I talked about. You have to make sure you've got your email attached to your Discord account, or none of this is going to work. So we're going to authorize. Once you authorize, you can close this down, and you've got a window pop up here, okay? And you can use scroll wheel in and out, right click drags it, and you can scroll in. Now, the way this thing scroll works, it scrolls more toward the middle. It's not going to scroll down right where you're looking. So sometimes you have to scroll a little, move, scroll a little, move. Typically, I like to get somewhere where there's a lot of bunkers. So like right there. That's pretty good. So this is the OPCD SAT image that comes in with the tool. And you've got an opacity down here. And if you drag it left, this is what's called the hillshade. The hillshade is nothing more than the terrain. So it shows all of the humps and bumps with light and dark colors. If you drag it right, it goes all the way to the overhead image. So what comes in at 50%, and that's so you can see through the image. And you can see this one is lined up pretty good already. The bunkers line up really good. That's usually the best way to look, is look at bunkers, because they are definite impressions in the terrain. And that one may be off just a little bit there. So we're not worried about that right now. We're going to leave that at 50%. And what we need to do is download these other images. So all you do to download them is click them. The first one you click on, I'm going to do Google because it's pretty quick first. You have to accept. And what this is saying is that you are responsible for these images. OPCD GS Pro is not responsible for any licensing. You are taking full responsibility. So we're going to accept and download. Like I said, this one's relatively quick. So I'm going to let this one run so you can kind of see what it does. It'll show downloading Google, shows you your progress bar, and then it's going to go through a couple of different little cycles here, processing, pass 1, pass 2. And once it gets done with the processing, this takes just a second. And the Bing and the Apple both take a good bit longer, so I'm going to pause while we do those. But once you get this downloaded, you can then click on it. And you can see this image. And if you want to, you can use your little slider, drag down, slider full, slider. And we're going to play with that a little bit in a minute. So what I'm going to do, again, let's get this right there. That way we can look at them in a second. I'm going to go ahead and download these other ones, and I'm going to pause while I do that. But to download them, all you do, you click on each one. So we're going to click, it starts the download. So I'm going to pause and get those two downloaded. All right, we've got all our images downloaded. We can cycle through them and see which ones we like the best. Google looks pretty good. Bing looks okay. It looks more winter, so sometimes that's not a bad thing for splining because you don't have as many shadows. So that may actually be a good one to spline. So if you've used this tool before, you may have noticed this looks a little bit different. This is the updated version, just came online today, June 20th, 2026. And we've made a few improvements. We've made a few additions. One of the additions is you can now add historical images. And you can remove these. You can have, I've already forgotten. I think Stingray said 6 total images, I believe, is what you can have. So if you didn't like one of these, you could remove it and add multiple historical images. But you're going to click on this button, add a layer. And where these come from, it will not use Google Earth. You can use Google Earth to kind of look and get an idea of what you want, but you would need to go to either the Wayback. Let's see if I can find it where it talks about it. Wayback right there. So it's Wayback. I think if you Google Wayback historical image or something like that, you can find it online because you can't really see a preview of it here. So you have to know what year you want. But you can use Wayback. You can use Sentinel Cloudless, which I have not even tried. The NAIP, I did try that one and really got some good images. I never could figure out how to view them. So I just had to kind of guess on the year that I wanted, but it really has good image. But for this purpose, I'll tell you what, let's try one. We'll try this one. So that's the NAIP, and we want to look for a year. I think this LiDAR was 2018, so let's just go 2018. We're going to upload image. When you do that, that's not right. Sorry, not upload image. You want to add and download image. Add and download, it starts the download. This takes a bit, so I am definitely pausing here. Just a note while this is downloading, the reason this one takes so long to download is all of the stuff that's happening in the background. So it's taken that image and it is mapping it to the hillshade of your project and aligning it. And it has to stretch that image and round it and move stuff around. So there's a reason it takes a while. So just be patient. Okay, so that image came in. It's not the best image in the world, but it's not bad. All right, so at this point, what I like to do is to kind of go through them and see how close they are. So we're going to take our opacity all the way up, and we're going to kind of look at these bunkers as we click through. And so they're pretty close, but they may not be exact, but they're really close. So there's a tool in here that we can use that is the auto align. Let's go right down here, quick align. So the quick align will align everything to the dual hillshade and to each other. So it matches everything up. Precision align aligns satellites to each other, shows suggested terrain offsets, and then you have to fine tune it with the slider. So if you like to do things manually, you can do this. I typically will do the quick align, and 95% of the time it does a good job. So we're going to hit quick align, and it takes it a minute, and what it does is it adjusts every one of the images. I'm going to try not to pause here because normally it doesn't take too long. Okay, so that's already run. So now we can cycle back through them. And so what you'll notice, this is lined up really good. So if we look at this bunker, these two are lined up really good. The shape of this bunker has changed. So you've got to remember that these images sometimes are different years, and most of the time they are. So if you look at the main part of this bunker, it's pretty much aligned, but this little corner out here looks a little bit different between Bing and Google. But if you look at the back edge over here, they're pretty close. And, they could have even reshaped the bunkers a little bit. And it looks like they may have on this one. If we look at Apple, so Apple and Google is really close. So that brings up a good point. Why do we care that the images are aligned? The main reason for this is when we're in Inkscape. If we're clicking back and forth between images in Inkscape trying to get an outline, say like this bunker, where we've got a little bit of shadow here, but on Apple, we don't. So if this bunker on Apple and Google are lined up, then when I'm doing my splining, I can click back and forth and get a continuous shape. But if I was going between Google and Bing, they may be off just a little. Bing and Apple typically are pretty close. And if you want to do some fine-tune adjusting, you can. If you want to see which one is exactly spot on, you want to go back to your opacity. And that one is pretty close. What's that? That's Apple. Let's look at Google. In the past, Google has been really close. Let's see what it looks like. It's actually off just a hair. Maybe that would need to come that way. I don't know. That's pretty close. So I think I'm going to leave them where they are. So that's the main aligning. From there, we've got a new feature called warp mode. This would mainly be on your historical stuff that comes in and it's just not right. So let's look at this one. And let's say we're going to manually move this one a little bit and make it off. So let's say that one, even after adjusting it, it's way off like this. We can have it highlighted. We're going to go to warp mode. And it's going to give you a warning. This is alpha, alpha, alpha feature. I mean, this is like we've been playing with this for maybe a week, if that. So just know that it is not perfect. But if you need to try it, you can. All right, this is an updated warp mode video. I had messed up the first original one, so this is an edit in here. You can see I've downloaded a different historical image. This way back image was a lot better, so I downloaded it. I've already adjusted it where it's off a little bit. So the warp mode is the new tool. It is an alpha tool. So when we click the image, let's say you brought it in and it just would not align. So we've got a little automatic kind of lineup method here. So we're going to click warp mode. And when we do that, it'll be a little message come up here saying that it's alpha. You just hit OK. And then we're going to click a couple of points. So we're going to shift left click on the corner of this bunker. Control left click. And when you do that on the image, then it switches over to the hillshade. So we're going to make another mark on the corner of the bunker. Right out there. And then when we do that, we're going to zoom out. And you'll have to move this as you zoom out. Zoom out a little, move a little. You can see that's my original. So what we're wanting is we're wanting a couple of marks at different kind of outliers of the course, so that it stretches the mark. Not really sure what that one is there. If we clear, yeah, I don't know where that one came from. So let's go back. That one was a random one. I may have messed that up a second ago. We're going to go back down to this bunker right here. And we're going to make our dot right here. So control, left click. Then we're going to control, left click. Then we're going to zoom back out. So that's where we made the original mark. We're going to go over here to the other end of the course. Zoom in down here. There's a bunker there. We can use that one. And I believe there's a way to zoom. I'll try that on the next spot. So we're going to click, again, we're going to click, how about this little corner right here? So Control, left click, and then right there is that bunker. So we're going to Control, left click there, zoom out. This is what's a little bit awkward, a little clunky, because like I said, the zoom is not where you were. It's kind of zooming from the middle. So zoom out a little, move a little. And let's find, we got one there. How about right there? I think we can shift, shift, left click, drag, and it'll zoom. That's the way to do it. Okay, so let's go in on this one. Same thing, we got a little spot right there. We're gonna click and then match it up right there, click. All right, and we've got all of that. So now we're going to use our matchup of the points. So we're going to auto warp. All right, so we're back. Let's see how it did. We can use our opacity. Oh, wait, we got to get out of warp mode. So uncheck warp mode. And then we can play with our opacity. And it did not do real good. So you can see that's still a work in progress kind of thing. Hopefully we can get that fine-tuned. But right now, I have had really good results with just the regular alignment. So what I'm going to do is we're going to zoom back out and go back to our original spot, which was down here. Shift, let's see if we can zoom back in here. And I'll show you one other little feature that we've got that I like. All right, so we're back here. So let's see which one of these was lined up really good. The Google, I believe, was lined up good. Google's close. Apple. That Apple is really, really good. So Apple is almost dead on. So another little feature we can do is we can align to a image. So Apple is really good. So we're going to use that as our default, and we're going to align others to active. All right, let's see how that did. So let's check our historical. Oh, not even close on the historical. Apple, Google, and Bing are all lined up real good. He may not have added in the alignment on that with the others yet. Like I said, very, very much of alpha program at this point. So I'll go back and I will manually move this one. I'm not going to do it right now, but you can see, you can move this. And what I will do is I'll manually line that one up. So that's it for the warped mode add-in. Now back to the original program. All right, so now I'm back to my Bing, Google, and Apple. We've got all the adjustments made. I want to double check we didn't mess anything up. That looks good. That looks good, and that looks good. Once we do that, we want to save all images. And what this will do is actually save them into your Unity project, the adjusted images. All right, we've got that done. We've got all our images saved. So now we need to switch terrains over to our outer, and we need to download our outer images. And it's the same process. The two that I liked was Google and Bing, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Google and Bing. So I'm going to download the Google and Bing. Same thing. When you click it, it's going to automatically download. I'm going to pause while this happens. There's no reason for you to see this. All right, I've got those downloaded. This step is not necessarily needed, but I usually do it anyway. I go ahead and quick align those just to get them lined up. You're not splining out here, so this is really not needed, but just one of those things I do. But you do need to come down here and save all, and that's going to save your outer images for you. And so now we're ready to look at these tabs at the top. So this is a new one, Shapes, and it's going to tell you the same thing. This is an alpha feature. We have not tested this much at all. What this is people have been asking about importing OSM shapes for their inkscaping. So what this does is it does that. So I'm going to hit got it. Actually, I need to switch back terrains. Yeah, all right, so we switch back to my inner. I'm going to zoom in a little bit right here. And in shapes, we can go down here to the bottom. Now you can click on these shapes and you can do your outlining and try to spline here. It's got a draw feature. You can do everything you can do. But the thing that a lot of people like to do, and I'll show it, is we're going to run this auto map. And it does take just a minute. Oh, that was quick that time. Okay. So what it does is it will auto spline. As you can see, it's not perfect. Some stuff comes in not lined up. But what you can do, if you like this method, you can click this shape and you can move the shape. Right there. You can click this green, move this green to where it's supposed to be, and you can go around and do that and click and move, drag, move them around where they're supposed to be. If you like this, you can do it. It's not for me, but hey, that's just me. And it may be one of those things that eventually I'm like, ooh, I do like that. But I've just always splined courses, so splining doesn't bother me. But that's how you do it. Don't know if there's a save. Like I said, this is a brand new feature. Looks like it must automatically save. Yep. Okay. All right. So used to your Inkscape was on the main page. Now it has moved. It's now on the export page. And what we're going to do is we're going to go down here to Inkscape template. Before we do this, I like to set up an Inkscape folder in my project. So we're going to go back to my Bald Mountain. This is my Bald Mountain course in my OPCD projects. And I'm going to add a folder and just call it Inkscape. And I know some of these words may not mean anything to you at this point, but they will. And this terrain services, if you never did stuff the old way, this new web app is quite amazing on the time that it saves. All right, so we've got that folder now. We're going to Inkscape template. And when we do that, it's going to ask where we want to put it. So that's why I create that folder. So I'm going to go C drive, projects, Bald Mountain, Inkscape, and we're going to put it right there in that folder. Save. And that has our terrain services wrapped up. So we're going to close this out. When you do that, all of these files have to update and they come in. And I'm going to show you one thing here before we move on. Let me pause real quick. Okay, we're back. I'm trying to keep it as short as we can. Eventually, before you start building your course files, you want to go in here. Where are we? Terrain backup. Terrain backup and bald. That's where it put all of my images. So if you hit this little drop down, imagery. So that's where all of my images are. And when they come in from the service, they're at 8192, which we want. That's the highest resolution. But they're uncompressed. So once you get done, if you're using Photoshop or anything, once you get done with all of that, come back here and hit this little drop down and just hit normal quality and apply. That will reduce your file size dramatically. And you do it on each one of these images. Don't forget that. That's an important step. I'm going to show you the Inkscape file real quick that it created. So let me pause. All right, one last thing here under the OPCD terrain services is the texture swapper. And what this does is it allows you to jump from different overheads. And this little pop-up comes up and you can just click through the different ones. That's my inner. I think I really like the Google. And then outer, I think I've only got Bing and Google and OPCD. I didn't do the Apple. The OPCD is not bad. It's a really green look. I'm not sure which one I'll go with. See what Bing looks like. Bing's not bad if I could bring a little green into the fairway. I kind of like the mountains with that darker look. But anyway, that's the texture swapper. Really cool, really easy instead of having to go in and out. Right now, the historical is not included in this. Stingray's working on that, so that should be a quick update, and it would be here available too if you had one. All right, so you would go back to None to Done to find out where to get your Inkscape, how to download Inkscape. But once you download it, we're going to double click it. It'll open up. And you don't have to worry about any of these settings. We're going to go to File, Open. We're going to find our file that we want. So PC, C drive, Projects, Bald Mountain, Inkscape, and our Inkscape file. We can double click that. That's going to bring in all of our linked satellite images. It's going to bring in those trace shapes that we did. So if I control and scroll wheel, you can zoom in and you can see the shapes that it brought in. And you can see if I'd lined them up, they're not bad. If you like this method, it's not a bad method. It does save some time, but you do have to go in there and adjust them, okay? If you don't like those, they're all in one folder. So they're in this trace-shaped folder. And all you have to do if you don't like them is just hide them, and they go away. When you're clicking around in here, these are all your different images. We can hide the OPCD. There's Bing. There's Google, Apple, and Hillshade. I'm not going to go through all of that. That is going to be in None to Done. So I'm not going to really go into a bunch of that. I'm going to save this file. Okay, we have saved. Perfect. We're going to close that out. This is an Inkscape. Okay, this is a different course that I splined. I bring this up only to show one thing. When you are going through None to Done, Almost all of the splining information is still current. The main thing that's different, you will hear him talk about loops are not allowed when we start talking about cart paths and other things. In our new processing, loops are no problem. So you can do a cart path loop, you can union these things. It's not an issue at all. The new processing actually does better with a loop than it does with a spline that overlaps. So that's something to keep in mind as you move through Inkscape. And that'll do it for now. You're going to be in none to done for a while doing your Inkscape shapes. Once you get done with that, you can come back to the next video. Do not use the Google form that it talks about in none to done. We may have deleted that. I can't remember if we did or not. But when you get ready to process your SVG, you're going to come back to the app for that. And that's going to wrap up the terrain services. And hopefully everything was self-explanatory. I know that was a long one. I didn't mean for the video to go quite this long, but there's a lot of information packed in here.